Well, we're okay. We're nothing like Mark is. Mark's got the field covered right now. If things are today like they were yesterday, it'll be a Mark Martin show. He'll just beat everybody pretty badly. But we made a few adjustments on our car. We'll see what happens.
Mark Martin is a favorite to win this afternoon, and why not? He has won 3 of these September races in a row. He won happy hour last night. No changes to the car this morning. They're delighted with it.
If you could be any Winston Cup driver this season, you probably wouldn't choose Mark Martin. But when September comes to Dover, Delaware, he is the hands-down choice. For the last 3 seasons, he has owned Dover's second race. A visit to Victory Lane today may be just what his team needs. This is a tough, demanding racetrack. Tough on cars, tough on drivers, and no driver's tougher or better prepared than Mark Martin. His car's ready. He starts 5th. He was fastest in happy hour. Car 6 is the car to beat.
Mark Martin has won the last 3 MBNA.com 400s. And Buddy Baker, the question begs to be asked. You heard Jeff Burton say nobody has anything for Mark. How much of this business is mental when you go into the race thinking that there's no way you can keep up?
Eli, you know, everybody says that Mark Martin has got this race sewed up. There's not a driver in there that's competitive that feels that way. They always feel like the crew is good enough and the mindset's good enough for them to make up the difference. Every guy in the front up there feels like he can handle Mark Martin.
Mark Martin got bumped. Watch this, lower right of your screen, a half a lap go. Ward Burton says, if you're not going, I'm going.
He almost lost it. That was a scary, scary moment. He's way up in front of the grid. All the cars behind him. That could have been a bad one. Oh, and there is a bad one right there.
Heavy trouble in the corner, Mike Bliss. 3 laps prior. Well, this is a heck of a hit by Ward Burton on Mark Martin.
Well, you see Rusty on the top there, but even at that, they were going pretty much down the straightaway, and Mark must have checked up a little bit because of traffic in front of him, and Ward got right into him hard. I guarantee you Bill Elliott knew about it. That's Bill and the 3rd car there.
How damaging is that wrinkle there as far as aerodynamics or anything else here, buddy?
That won't hurt a thing there. It's down low and it's not in the air at all. And the upper spoiler up there was not hurt, so that's very important. That's the part that really works.
Up front, meanwhile, Mark Martin has made his way to the front. He takes over the top spot at lap number 36. So it has taken Martin 36 miles to go from 5th spot to the lead. And that'll do it. No, but that's the prevailing attitude down on pit road right now.
It will not do it because these 3 cars are chased by somebody that's had a lot of success here. Jeff Gordon is in the 4th place now and going towards the lead.
There is the race leader. Mark Martin continues to mow the field down. He's got 1 2/10 on Jeff Gordon. He's got 2 7/10 on Benson and Mayfield. 3.5 on Nadeau. 4.8 seconds on Sterling Marlin. And then back to this 11th place battle. Those fellows are now running 7 seconds behind the race leader, Mark Martin. There is Mark Martin again. Most recently took over the lead at lap 51. He also had led from laps 36 through 47 before yielding during a sequence of pit stops.
Amazing how well he runs here in the fall, isn't it? I mean, he runs pretty well in the springtime, but give him this race in September, and Mark Martin is just a rocket ship. Coming into today, he had led a total of 1,485 laps here at Dover. Of those, 78% were in this race. Only 22% of the laps led had been in the spring, and he's padding that right now.
He's pulled away from Terry Nadeau by 2 seconds. 2 seconds on the Monster Mile looks like this. There's Nadeau going to the inside of the 36 of, the 36 of Kenny Schrader.
Oh, problems on Mark Martin there. Had a lug nut jammed in the air gun on the left front. Everything went fine on the right side, but he lost a ton of track position. They beat the air gun on the ground to finally break that lug nut loose. Tough break. They had a great stop going, but he is going to lose a lot of track position, guys.
The least little bobbles.
Eli, it's not always what happens on the racetrack. You can lose the race just as well in the pits. And poor Mark, I tell you, he's had his share of that this year as far as pit stops not being up to par when they come in sometimes.
Let's take a look at this pit stop again and analyze it just a bit further.
Sean Parker going over the wall. He does the rear tires. So good. Pick up the tires now, bring them around on the outside. Everything's fine. Parker's got the rear off. Rear's on. Here's the trouble on the left front. They can't get it. See him banging that wrench on the ground, trying to get it to work. So late getting the left front tire on.
That was not the changer's fault. What happens, they have a spring load up inside of the actual bolt that takes that off, and it was just hung up in there, and he couldn't get it out of the gun.
On the concrete of Dover Downs. Some big-time numbers right there.
However, Mark Martin in the number 6 has a problem. The shifter broke off in his car, so they're working on that right now. They've got the left side up, working up under the car, trying to get the car in gear. Big problem for Mark Martin.
Oh, and now the car teetering and tottering there. You see the jack stands being put in place. All sorts of problems for the Valvoline Cummins Ford.
And the way he's inching out of there, he does not have the shifter fixed yet. You can tell it's just barely creeping out of the pit stall.
Wow, what a turn of events. And remember, Mark Martin has all sorts of problems, and here he comes back down the pit lane again. He was running 5th before Jeff Burton crashed, and he has just made his pit stop moments ago. He came down, and the crew finds out that he's got all sorts of problems. The car teetering and tottering, and Glenn, what they finally find, did the shifter itself break off or something else?
Eli, it's one of the rods. If you can see that transmission, if we can show my camera right now, they've got another Jericho transmission out here. They're taking a rod off of it to try to take one off of here and put it onto the car. One of those aluminum rods that runs from the shifter to the transmission itself actually broke in half. So Mark couldn't change gears at all. All they could do was to put the car physically in 4th or high gear and get him out of here. Now they're trying to replace the rod so that he can change gears. He's down and away. I think that he'll be back. We stalled the car. It's awfully tough to take off in high gear. He stalled it once more. Sean Parker has the rod now. One of the guys has the rod in his hand that has broken in two. So big problems for Mark Martin. Jimmy Finnig is down here directing things, trying to get a rod off of this thing so they can replace the one that broke. Man, I tell you, unless you're involved in an accident, there's a big impact. I've never seen this happen.
Now, is this likely a part problem, or could this be something that was done by a missed shift or something like that?
Well, there's a rod end on each end of that thing, and those rod ends are threaded, and the bar itself is threaded, so there are a lot of things that can go wrong. There's also a couple of little flat plates. One of those could break, but I've never seen one of those rods fail, Eli. He may well have picked up a piece of debris and caused it to fail.
And also a Carter key that goes in that thing, so there's so many things that can go wrong with shifting.
Tell us about that broken part there.
Take a look here, Eli. I've got it right here in my hand. This bracket right here is attached to the shifter. This rod runs to the transmission to change the gears. You can see right on the end of it, it just snapped right in half. You heard Dick say it a couple times. We've never seen anything like this. There's all scratching their heads down here, too. I showed it to Jack Rouse. He just shook his head. They can't believe that this happened.
Eli, the reason nobody can believe it is there's no pressure on that particular piece there. That's just, I don't know, a bad piece of metal or something.
Piece of part fatigue for some reason or what have you. Who knows?
It'll be in the metallurgist tomorrow morning. You can be guaranteed of that.
Doubt.
They'll find out what happened, and it will never happen again.
Little close quarters running right there on the exit. Look at, they're having to push off Mark Martin's car again. So whatever Mark is able to pick up on the racetrack has just gone away.
Eli, that's murder on that clutch, trying to get that car to run in high gear like that.
And they're not allowed to push it anymore then. That line that you see going across the racetrack there, that's as far as the NASCAR officials will allow crew members to get out onto the racing surface, so they got to try it again. Who's there? Mark Martin. He's running in 14th.
Eli, he'll be fine as long as he's running along in high gear, because you never shift. But if he ever has to make a green flag stop, he's in big trouble.
He's challenging Earnhardt for the 13th spot.
You know, I better explain to the people that are just joining us, he does not have anything but high gear. The transmission broke not long ago, and he only has high gear. So Mark Martin comes in under the green flag. it'll take him a full lap to get back up to speed, and he'll have to start off in high gear and will not pull fast, so he'll lose at least 2 laps when he makes the pit stop.
As pit stops now begin to take place. Oh, and look, here goes the battle between Elliott and Martin for 5th. Mark Martin grabs it. And you know what the heartbreaker is of all of this? Remember, Mark's got a transmission problem, and with pit stops coming up, if he doesn't get a caution here and has to stop under green, he's going to lose a lap or something.
You know, you've got to wonder about what kind of a day Mark Martin would have had if he hadn't had the problem in the pit stop earlier with a lug nut sticking in the gun and then the transmission problem. He has run a very smooth race. He's been very fast all day, but trouble in the pits, mechanical trouble on the car.
Eli will be very lucky if he don't pull the clutch completely out of the car trying to get it back up to speed.
Remember, Mark restarted in 17th, and he's moved up to 6th now. And now let's see how Mark Martin does. Polaris ATVs timing this pit stop for you. Overdosed on civilization. Polaris is the way out. Here's Glenn.
Well, Mark Martin was looking for somebody to come down pit road with, guys. They finally worked it out with Bill Elliott's crew. The reason he needed that, and now they're having to push him off, as we knew this would be a big problem. But one of the other problems he had, with only 4th gear, he didn't know how fast to run down pit road. So he came in right in front of Elliott and used Elliott's speed to gauge his own speed down pit road. Both cars are down and away.
Mark Martin loses 3/4 of a lap by virtue of making his stop. Came in 5th, dropped to 12th, stayed on the lead lap, but loses about 3/4 of a lap. So if you're a Mark Martin fan, he's out there running, doing as well as he can with the transmission problems. Closing on the 4th win of the year for Tony Stewart. His 7th career victory and the 8th Pontiac win of 2000. Tony Stewart sweeps at Dover Downs in Delaware here in the 2000 season. Johnny Benson will have a career best 2nd place finish with Rudd, Park, and Bobby Labonte coming home in the top 5.